Boardroom on? Everybody, welcome
On?
to the Toadstool Boardroom, a special one-off edition. Today is the big Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. We've got a lot to get to, and with me is my partner in crime, Chris Shriver. Chris, how are you, my friend?
I'm so happy to be here. It is so good to be back. Happy Nintendo Switch 2 Direct Day, Mr. Justin.
Happy Nintendo Switch 2 Direct Day. I can't believe this day is finally upon us. Honestly, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. And my goodness, they gave us a meaty 90-minute presentation on this. And honestly, it felt like it needed every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, considering how much even came out after the fact, it was kind of like it wasn't the feeling of like, did they show us anything at all? But it's like, wow, I think they've answered almost every question that anybody could conceivably have about this thing at this point. Because like, you don't want to dump maybe too much information all at once. But like, I feel like I could answer most questions about this thing at this point that somebody might have, other than the whys about certain decisions.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
I'm with you completely. I think that they answered a lot of the questions I have. I do still have a couple of pending questions that I think a lot of folks have. So let's start just from the hardware. They showed off a lot more details about how everything works. They showed us how the Joy-Con attach using magnets. They showed us where the magnets are even located. They explained how the shoulder buttons on the Joy-Con are bigger, the screen is bigger, the 1080p resolution, up to 120 hertz and HDR, and all these things. I don't know about you, but I actually came away pretty impressed by what it's capable of from a hardware standpoint.
Yeah, hardware-wise, there's a small piece of me that is like, I need to see what the guys at Digital Foundry have to say about this when they get it in their hands. Because I kind of don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I don't want to jump the gun too much, but I think for what you're getting, while the cost is higher than I think a lot of us were expecting, I think it's also, on paper, more powerful than what any of us were expecting. The fact that it can even hit 120 FPS in a handheld form factor is like kind of insane. Like, I understand it's docked. They didn't mention that the dock had any other kind of like GPU built into it. It has a fan, but I mean, they looked at the portable. To me, at least, it looks like they looked at the portable PC space, and then they looked at what the Switch 1 has been capable of up to this point, and they were like, okay, how do we outdo all of them? And really, like, if you compare side by side with the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck, this sits very comfortably like right in the middle of those two consoles, but I would say is probably, at least from what we're seeing, a little more powerful than both of them. So I'm definitely impressed with what they've at least said so far, but I really need to see like those raw performance numbers. Like, how is this thing actually going to behave?
Oh, yeah, I think you're 100% right. They talked about 4K, they talked about HDR, they talked about 120 FPS. Those things are not all going to happen at the same time. Let's be very clear about that. But I'm glad you mentioned the dock, too, because they did. They talked about the fan that's built into it to help with heat management. And I think that's a combination of a couple of things. I think that just being in an enclosed space, of course, like, it's going to have a little bit tougher time, with thermal management. And so having a fan built in makes sense. But we've also seen it does appear like it up-reses stuff and frankly runs a little bit harder in its docked mode versus its handheld mode, which is something we saw on the Switch too. And so honestly, I think that it is meant to, like, frankly spool up a little bit and crank up that GPU a little bit, and probably runs a little bit hotter, which is why that fan matters, because it, like, again, just like you said, these numbers are impressive. And as somebody who has a Steam Deck that I like quite a bit, like, yeah, especially like dollar for dollar, this compares really favorably to that, even if the price point is a little higher than folks were expecting.
Yeah. Shoot, I totally just lost my train of thought. That's all right.
Let me ask you this, Chris.
Go ahead.
There's a C button, and it turns out it does not stand for Chris Shriver. It is, in fact, the chat button, and it seems like it's really meant to work with the chat using its own built-in microphone. They even talked about how it has like noise cancellation, how it's meant to sit in its dock at the front of the room and still operate for voice chat and do a good job canceling its own echo feedback, canceling background noise and things like that. What do you think about Nintendo's finally delivering what seems like a somewhat real solution for chat?
I think they've done it in other than just having Discord integration natively,
Right.
which, like, let's be real, that's like for the most part what this is. It's just like their own isolated Discord.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way they could have done it. I'm skeptical about so there's the camera that you can purchase separately. It's $50. It does have other features like that are like similar. Like, what's that?
I'm a little skeptical of that camera too.
Yeah, well, the video quality looks pretty low, which, like, I guess for what it's doing makes sense. Like, it's probably, like, you know, there's probably a lot of processing happening on that thing, and they don't like care necessarily about capturing like 4K 30 video. But it yeah, apparently one of the things in the Ask the Developer articles that is out there now that you can check out on Nintendo's site is they talk about how good the noise cancellation is. And one of the guys on there said while they were testing it, he's like, you know, we all have these at home, and I'm saying to the other person, like, he was running a vacuum, and he's like, I don't believe you, because they just can't hear it at all. Which, I mean, if that's the case, like, that's great. I know noise cancellations come really far. But, well, and now that I'm thinking about it, if it is an NVIDIA chip, it could be using what's in all the RTX stuff. So
that's true. Actually, I hadn't thought about that. Like,
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
at all.
we've talked about that when we've gone over like how we want to do our like audio setups for the show and things like that. Is taking advantage of, I forget what the NVIDIA like audio processing is called, but
I think it's RTX voice.
Yeah, something like that. And it's like that actually is a pretty powerful set of tools to do things like clean up voice, remove background noise, and seemed like some automated EQ functions, things like that. So yeah, that could be a cool solution. Yeah, I'm kind of into it. I will say my one big question mark is like they showed it running off of the console itself, like natively, and that sounds really cool. Can I hook up Bluetooth headsets to it though? Like, can I just like have a little boom mic like I'm a regular old gamer bro? If it doesn't do that, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed. So I hope we get a good answer on that. But like as an out of the box solution, like the fact that the console ships and you know that every user has access to voice chat just by owning the console is a pretty powerful thing for developers, that they can just plan on everybody having that. It's not like the early days of Xbox Live where like maybe 20% of people actually bought a headset. Now with that built in, you can build things like Mario Party around it and take advantage of features like that. And I do think that that's pretty cool. I also wonder if we'll eventually get some of those virtual console titles like WarioWare games, things like that would use the microphone and have you like blow into it and do stuff like that. Because it certainly opens the door up to stuff like that too.
I hadn't even considered that. Mario Party 6 and 7, or I think 7, yeah. I wonder, is this going to be like the monkey's paw curling, you know, the famous phrase you always use, where it's like, okay, because one of the they've shown a lot of accessories that they're making for this thing. Yeah. They have not shown a headset, but they have made it a point to say there's a headphone jack on the Pro Controller. And
exactly
they're making
my
a big deal about it.
Yeah.
So like, why are we doing that? If you're not going to make a headset, I feel like you almost have to support Bluetooth at that point.
I hope so.
I hope so. I mean, it took the Switch a while to get there, but I mean, by all accounts, this should be able to support it, but we'll see.
If we can just stop using a sketchy app for like the native voice chat support, I will be thrilled. You mentioned the webcam. I could take or leave it. It definitely looked like kind of similar to what my camera looks like right now. It seemed to run at a pretty low frame rate, which, again, to your point, they probably don't care to dedicate that much of the processing power to it, but like to me, the odds of it being like iToy 2.0 and a little gimmicky seem pretty high, but obviously going with an open mind and see if things do use it in clever and interesting ways. Somebody actually in our Discord server made a real solid joke about how the year's 2025 and Nintendo just invented Skype, which I thought was pretty good.
I mean, what they've shown, like, I was, for as janky as it was, like, I was a big fan of Kinect when it came out. I think I was just like the target demographic for it.
I liked the Kinect that came with my Xbox One.
Yeah, and then, you know, now you just can't even use it.
Nope.
But No, I mean this thing, like it's only $50. It's optional. It's not like you have to get it with the console. The whole console doesn't revolve around it.
Mhm.
And that was one of the things in the developer direct that they really were focusing on is like we wanted to make sure that the core console experience was like what everyone wanted this to be. Like it's supposed to go toe to toe with Xbox and Sony. And I think what they showed off with Mario Party is really cute. Some of the mini games there, like I bet they're really silly, like 1 or 2 times for a group of people. But to your point, yeah, like I wonder if at some point they will put out a WarioWare for it. I hope they do. I think that'd be, it's a perfect franchise for it.
Yeah.
Or some integration with Rhythm Heaven whenever that comes out.
Honestly, like the Nintendo consoles seem to have become the official home of the Just Dance series, so maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah.
So like that could be cool. They also showed a new Pro controller, which I'm excited about because it's got some like back buttons, kind of like the paddle locations, like on the Xbox Elite controllers, which is a feature that I actually use quite a lot. It sounds like you can map.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah. I in fact, like even though the Xbox One can have like 4 paddles I only ever used to, so this seems perfect. It's got the C button for chat. And if it's anything like my Switch Pro controller, I'll charge it the day I get it, and then it will never need to be charged again for the history of mankind. So that's pretty cool. And they also showed. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna. I saw that they were putting that out, and I was super excited because I think like the Switch Pro controller is like one of my favorite controllers that has ever been made. But to that same degree, there's a part of me that's like, well, the old ones still work. And my Pro controllers like are still going strong. Like I have a Tears of the Kingdom one. Like it's not that old. I'm less like I feel less urgent to go get one of these new ones when this thing comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But also there's a part of me that's like new shiny thing. I need to see it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and they Nintendo released kind of a pretty detailed actually breakdown of like how Nintendo Switch 1 accessories are compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2, and it seems like there's a lot of that. I would have to pull it up to look specifically about the original Pro controller. I'll bet the Pro controller worked with it just fine, though, if you want to keep
it does, yeah.
That.
But I think the only controller, and I don't know if you could even call it that doesn't work. It's more of the accessory ones. So like the ring con, the leg strap, the Joy-Con wheel, the charging grips, like none of those they can wirelessly connect. What does it say? When playing on Switch 2, the ring con can only be used by connecting Joy-Con wirelessly. Oh, okay. So it's like it's the specificity of like accessories that were built for Joy-Con 1 do not work with Joy-Con 2, which like that makes sense.
Yeah,
because like it just won't fit.
Yeah,
but you can
totally right.
You can still use those devices with
if you got the Nintendo 64 controller or the Super Nintendo controller or the NES or the Pro, you can like use your existing Joy-Con with it too, which I think is really great if you spent a fortune investing in a bunch of those.
Well, and now that explains that
that dock
two-way stand.
Yep,
that dock
100%.
that came out like October, I think it was, and we were all like, "Why is this here?"
Yeah. Even the GameCube adapter that you can use to use old GameCube controllers is compatible with it.
I was very happy to see that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, they're also bringing like a Wavebird equivalent to it as well. Again, with the C button and stuff like that. Honestly, I think their hardware approach is like perfect.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think it's that confusing or unreasonable.
Yeah.
Like with the Wii, it was different because it was like not every game used the Joy-Con, or not the Joy-Con, the Wiimotes.
Yeah, and then we had Wiimote Plus and the 2.0, and like,
it was
messy,
too confusing. Like, yeah, they kept the hardware the same throughout the entire Switch life cycle, and the new Switch or the Switch 2s, like the Joy-Con 2s, aren't dramatically different, other than like the form factor fitting into the console. Like, yeah, why not be able to use those things? And like, I don't think people feel like they're getting as ripped off as they would, otherwise.
Although I will say one of the important caveats is the way that it handles memory. Like it uses a micro SD form factor card, but they're not regular micro SD cards. Like they're much faster cards like we use nowadays, and it makes sense to me. Like PlayStations and Xboxes moved exclusively to using like M.2 style memory like throughout, and like that ultra high speed read and write is really important for performance. That doesn't surprise me. Likewise, they have a new cartridge looks pretty similar to the old cartridge, except it's red now. But again, it's like what's actually happening internally is different, greater capacities, and again, I'm sure probably substantially higher read-write speeds than what we had before. So that makes sense to me now. Although you and I were talking before the show, when it comes to those new cartridges, what you get on those cartridges does vary a little bit by game.
Yeah, and I think for me, what's unfortunate is like what it does to the box art, because they have to like plaster all this text
You have
all
to
over
make
the
it
box art. So
extremely clear that it's not for the Switch one. Yeah.
so there's like a couple different things that happen here for those, because I was confused until about 20 minutes ago before we hopped on.
Oh yeah.
Here. So there's
we had to like work through it.
Yeah, there's a like a normal game that you would buy that the game is on the cartridge. So those are like right now the ones that we know of are Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Those you buy the game. If you never connected to the internet, the game would be on there. Then you have ones that are game key cards. I'm seeing this on some third-party titles like Bravely Default, Street Fighter 6. What this is it's basically a license file on a cartridge that you plug into the Switch, and then the Switch goes out, Switch 2 goes out, and downloads the game in its entirety onto your console. I'm also seeing Cyberpunk 2077 comes on a 64 gig card, but I'm sure that's not the whole game.
Yeah,
because that game is bigger than that. So I guess they're just trying to save you the download. So it's kind of all over the place. I know you're a digital guy.
Yeah, so this largely doesn't affect me.
Yeah, and I'm torn. I'm torn for a number of reasons. So like, the game prices themselves are going up pretty substantially, I think, from last generation to this one. The digital version, if you buy it separately, of Mario Kart World is $80. If you buy it physically, it's $90. And then Donkey Kong is what, 70 and 80. So physical games have that $10 Nintendo tax attached to them. I'm having a hard time stomaching, like, if I'm able to get the Mario Kart bundle, I obviously I'm not going to buy the physical copy. But is this when I finally pull the trigger and say, okay, I'm done with between the virtual game card sharing, you know, and just having too much crap generally. Like, look behind me, my God. I don't know that I need to do physical this time around.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think that, you know, for folks like yourself who, you know, have historically preferred to buy physical when the option is there, the fact that you can't have a complete library where all of your cartridges are actual games and, like, not just license keys, seems like it's the final nail in the coffin for a lot of people. Like, I think that's a big one. I'm glad you brought up the price points, because I wanted to I want to get into this in the middle of the show and not at the end, so we don't end on like a sour note. But there are a couple things from this direct that I think aren't necessarily landing great with folks. Price point of games, like an $80 game is a lot to ask, and I think that, especially just like the way world economics are right now and the way that they seem like they're going to be going, that extra 10 to 20 bucks actually does mean a lot. Like, that can be a big difference maker. Not actually owning physical games that you buy physically, not basically getting what you think you're paying for, I think can be a little bit of a tough pill to swallow. And like the console price itself, like, you know, they didn't even include this in the direct. This is something you had to go look afterwards, looking into buying the Switch 2. But it's we do now know the price. It's $450, like $449.99 US, or $500 because it does have a Mario Kart bundle, and we'll talk about Mario Kart in a little bit. So in terms of these prices that we're seeing, like, how do you feel about the console price as it relates to like the game price and all that?
I think the console price, again, on paper, seeing what this thing is actually capable of, and what I think it's contending against at this point, I think it makes sense. I think if they were to come out and say, it's only going to output 1080p, you're guaranteed that all your games are going to run at 60 FPS. Like, I think if that were the conversation, I'd be pretty sour on it. But the fact that they are trying to output to 4K, and like, this thing is as powerful as they're saying it is, like, I get it. I think I'm torn on the game one because like and also like the world event thing. Like I'm with you there because between the yen doing as poorly as it is right now and everything happening with tariffs, like I get it. The game price one, like I'm torn because it's like it's Mario Kart. Like it's not like I'm not gonna play it,
Right.
you know. Like
You're not
it's
going to
more
not
that
buy it.
yeah, like I'm not gonna not buy it, and I think them having that package bundle is kind of like the all right. Well, we get that this is a lot of money, but like here's how you can get it for $50 if you buy it digitally.
Yeah.
I think the problem with that is going to end up being everyone's going to go for that bundle, and all that's going to be available is the standalone one, and people are going to be like, oh, I'm not spending $20-$30. People will,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like on pre-order day when you go to do it, that's the one that's going to go first, is the one with Mario Kart bundled in.
Yeah.
And it'll push people to buy the physical copy, and I think that'll kind of pave the pathway from there for people. But it's a lot. Like for myself, like I'm only going to be using this thing for first party Nintendo games almost exclusively. Like I don't know that I think I'm PC at this point. Just because it's Steam, and I put my PC I used to record in is now in the living room. Like I've fully committed. But yeah, where are you at with it?
Yeah, I'm like it's a tough one for me. Like I'm very sympathetic to like people's prices concerns. Those are super valid concerns. My sort of what I've been putting out in the world though is that when you do things like account for inflation and look at some of the astronomical prices we paid in the past, like video games are, even with these price increases, like near all-time lows in terms of actual overall price. The problem is you used to be able, you used to have, 30, 40% disposable income, which means that you could cover those higher costs. Pardon me. Nowadays, many of us, like many of us, are operating at, frankly, a much, much, much tighter amount of disposable income. And so it's extremely valid to like have concerns about these price increases. On the flip side, that is such a like larger macroeconomic issue that it's not really video games problem to solve,
Yeah, like it's not Nintendo's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
That they're in this position.
Yeah. And so like to me, as something where like this is my primary hobby, like I'm not buying a bunch of car parts to like soup up my car. I don't have a basement full of model trains, or I'm doing stuff like that. I'm comfortable, investing in this as my hobby and putting like what disposable money I have, a chunk of that towards this. So like it doesn't bother me personally, but I am also somebody that does believe that things like accessibility are important. And on this show, I've talked about economic accessibility and why that's important too. And so I think that the fact that Nintendo does have things like their game sharing that they discussed on the previous Nintendo Direct, which we didn't talk about because it didn't exist then, like I think things like that can help. I think there are things as societies we can do, like fund libraries, which often actually have pretty extensive video game collections nowadays, can do things like help. So like there's solutions to it. Again, at least speaking from my perspective, I don't think beating up Nintendo for stuff going up by $10 is the solve for that. And again, I think that, if you've been around for a long time, like frankly, you and I have, it is a lower cost actually than it was when we were, folks were sharing like ad clip outs from like the Sunday papers of like, here's $120
I was
Nintendo 64 game. Exactly. It's like, even not counting for inflation, actually some of these numbers are lower, and when you do factor in inflation, it's actually a lot lower. So it's complicated. One of the other things though, that they did show off that we didn't really talk about is it seems like they have almost like a Nintendo DS style like local game share option where they actually showed a Switch 2, another Switch 2, a base Switch, and a Switch Lite all playing this like card game together, and presumably only one person has the cartridge, which like that was like a cornerstone of like some of the portable gaming back in the day with like Mario Karts and stuff. So like I thought that was a really cool feature.
If anything, it's almost better than what that was doing.
Oh yeah.
So for the uninitiated, Mario Kart DS, you used to, if let's say Justin owned a copy and then he and I were playing together, you would do local play, and I didn't have a copy. I would only get to play as Shy Guy. So like I would basically like download a portion of the game, and that was the only character that you could play as was Shy Guy. What this is doing is basically taking the concept of the Wii U and like it makes your Switch to the broadcast unit of a stream to the other consoles, and then the other consoles get to act as controller inputs.
Yeah.
It's basically like a localized version of what they're doing with NSO.
It's kind of brilliant.
With the
And
it's really smart way to do it.
Because
now you have access to the full game.
And yeah, it seems great for now. And like between this and the video game and the digital lending that they talked about, like as somebody who lives in a household with kids who all like play Nintendo and stuff, it's really appealing to me if I can buy one copy of like Mario Party and everybody busts out their little consoles and we can all play together.
Well, not only that, but like your old console's not a paperweight anymore,
100%,
right? Like it's if you all just kind of want to chill around and play the same game together, like you can absolutely do that, and it's not like you have to go buy 4 Switch 2s to do it.
Yeah, honestly, like this whole rollout seems exceptionally friendly towards the existing generation, which I think is something that's pretty unusual in consoles. That a lot of times it seems like they, want to basically like move on as quick as they can, and Nintendo's like, no, man, keep playing. Like games, you could great, buy this on your Switch too and play with your buddy who's on the Switch. That's fine, we don't care. And I think that's really cool. Before we move on and start really digging into the games, are there any other things that you saw in this presentation that like give you pause or give you concern or like stand out as like a worry or a potential like blemish on the Nintendo record?
Not necessarily. Well, I don't know if blemish is the right word. I think it's interesting what they're doing with the Switch 2 edition games is what they're calling them. So really what it is like they're taking games that are available on Switch 1 and then they're adding DLC to them and then enhancing like frame rate, resolution, etc. And they're selling that as an extra add-on. What remains to be seen to me is so titles that currently exist on the Switch 1 that they're doing this with. Super Mario Party Jamboree, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Kirby Forgotten Land are the big ones that I'll point out.
Odyssey's on that list too.
Well, so that's where it gets interesting. So those 4 games seem like that they require additional purchases. If you're an NSO member, you get Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild with your membership if you're an expansion pass member. So that's cool. The thing that I don't get is something like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, where they're adding this Star-Crossed World DLC. That's only coming to Switch 2. Why not just have the base game update to like get all the enhancements and all the the frame rate enhancements, the resolution, and then have that as additional DLC? Like they're gatekeeping those frame rate features behind that, because to your earlier point, there's another page on the Nintendo site right now where it says free updates for select Nintendo Switch games, and it's like Super Mario Odyssey, ARMS, Mario 3D World. Like there's all these first party Nintendo games. Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom are big ones that I've complained about on this show. But they're getting free resolution or frame rate boosts to some degree when the Switch 2 comes out. They're not getting new content though. So I think it's weird that they're like drawing the line of like, well, if we're giving them more content in some fashion, then they have to pay for the update.
It probably doesn't matter. I will say I think this is an area where you and I might like diverge our opinions a little bit, because I love that, honestly. Like I think that like we're gonna upres these. We're basically like, and I don't want to reduce the effort that goes into it, but for the most part, okay, we're going to change like the data files that tells it what resolution and frame rate it gets to run at. I think that's one thing, and like releasing those as free updates. And it looks like on the list it's ARMS, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Odyssey, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Clubhouse Games, Link's Awakening, Echoes of Wisdom, Game Builder Garage, Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and Big Brain Academy Brain vs. Brain. I think that's great. At the same time, yeah, I honestly really like the idea that, to me, this indicates that like there's real work going into Tears and Breath of the Wild and things like that. And maybe it won't be as big a gap as when we went to like Skyward Sword to Skyward Sword HD, but like like that they are like they're not just uprising it, that they are like that there's development happening, and
There,
and we know that there is because like they've talked about some features that they're adding, some like companion app functionality. We're gonna get GPS, I guess, in Zelda now. So
who
like,
asked
that's
for
like,
this?
I don't know, but like so like to me, if making a potentially paid feature, 'cause, like I will say, look, we're on a podcast about Nintendo right now. We've got NSO. But even if I didn't, right? Like to me, like if I was given the option of, hey, free update to improve frame rate and resolution, or spend we don't know what the pricing would be. Let's say spend $20 and you're gonna like spend some time under the hood and like rebuild some stuff. Yeah, I will spend that $20 at a heartbeat for those titles, 100%. And so, like,
and maybe that's the problem is I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah,
like
it will be like, and they showed some stuff, but it's definitely going to be upon Nintendo to justify whatever whatever the cost is relative to what the changes are. Because like again, like sometimes like nobody complains about the cost of the new Resident Evil remake or the nobody's mad that you can't put in your PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy 7 disc and play Final Fantasy 7 remake, right? Like it's well justified. And so where it falls like on that spectrum, obviously those are extreme examples, like that is totally gonna be up to Nintendo to justify, but like again, at least I'm excited by the idea.
So the one thing that I do want to add that I remembered while we were talking about it, in the Ask the Developer, they actually talk about, it seems like part of it is it's a mixed bag, and they don't go into a ton of detail on it, but like there are some games that they've put from the Switch 1 that they've put on the Switch 2, and they're like, hey, it just runs better. And then and I don't think they have to do anything. And then there are others where they're like, no, there's some work that's involved. That's
so you mentioned
probably the real reason.
You mentioned the Ask the Developer a couple of times. Do me a favor, tell the audience a little bit about like what that is, what it contains, and where they can find that.
Yeah, so Ask the Developer is a series that Nintendo puts on their news website. So right now, I think if you just go to like Nintendo.com, I think it's on the front page. Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit, it's under news. But basically what they do is they sit down with developers that work in Nintendo in various departments and ask them questions and kind of like deep dive into different topics. So the one that's out there today is Ask the Developer 16 Nintendo Switch 2. And they talk to one of the producers of the development department. I'm not going to try to pronounce their name because I'm not as talented as Logan Plant is. I'm sorry.
Never heard of him.
I don't know.
Just kidding. We love you, Logan.
Senior director. We love you, buddy.
We do.
Senior director of development and the general manager of development. And so they get a little technical, nothing crazy, but they basically talk about like, yeah, we considered doing emulation for Switch 1 games and realized that like that wasn't a good idea because then it would just like destroy the Switch 2 battery. And so like they touch on it a little bit, but ultimately they were like, the architecture is so vastly different that it wasn't just a simple like beep boop, click and drag over.
Save as.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you've referenced that a couple times, and it seems like there's a lot of information there that was not contained in this. That's like, if you're interested, like really useful stuff.
Yeah, if you're listening to the show, you should check it out. I'll say that because if you're listening to the show, you're probably in the weeds. It's in 4 parts. Some of it is like the questions are written like pretty like markety, if that makes sense. Like it's very like, so you've talked about this, but there is a lot of useful information. There's also like footage of them. Not that it's a huge deal, but if you're at all curious, it's like somebody like sitting at a table, undocking the Joy-Con 2 and then like docking it back in, like just seeing how that works and the noise that it makes. Like if you're into that kind of thing, like it's there. So it's definitely what's that?
A little ASMR.
Yeah, just play that on a loop while he falls.
Add that to Nintendo Music.
Add that to Alarmo, man.
Ooh, good call.
That'll be my sleep sound.
Nice.
Yeah, but no, great series over there.
Cool.
As a developer.
So last thing on hardware before we talk about games. The mouse functionality looks really cool, and like the dual mouse
Oh yeah.
functionality seems ultra cool.
You think the dual mouse functionality is ultra cool?
I do. Like they show some games where you can use it. I love like it's unique. Like I've never played
It's
anything that
definitely
uses two mouses. And as somebody who's played a lot of video games for a long time, it takes a lot for me to be like, oh, that's new. How would that work? Let me think through that. And that definitely like got that going in my head. Like, man, dude, imagine when we get a WarioWare like built from the ground up for Switch 2.
That's true.
All the crazy things they're gonna do with that.
You know what weird one I just thought of for some reason? I bet a double breakout would be really fun. Like
That
with
would
just
be
two,
so
and you're just
good!
like
Yes!
dragging it back and forth. Yeah.
I was thinking, like, as I was talking about, like, a WarioWare, like, a mini game where you're the sketchy dude, like, on the street corner with the cards, like, or, like the cup and the ball,
like
and you have to,
mixing
like,
up the
mix
ball
them
and the
up.
cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some fun to be had.
There's some stuff there.
There's
Yeah.
some stuff
No,
there.
I think it's more like practically, and I have this problem even like with like Mario Party Jamboree. Like we never play with Joy-Con mode. We actually said we need to because like we missed a lot of those mini games. But I joked in the Discord. I was like, man, I expect to see a lot of scratched coffee tables in the future because like where are we playing this? Where are we doing this? Like, am I just going to my desk and playing it there? Like, I don't know. I just don't know how practical
Like,
it is.
how soft is that plastic? Like, or like, what happens if I got one of those like really old coffee tables, like the grooves and lines, and I'm like trying to move and I just like hit a speed bump and I don't know, break my Joy-Con in half. So
I will say, like, I like the idea of, and I complained about this a while ago. I complain a lot. But using the right Joy-Con as a mouse and then using the left one as a controller.
Yeah, or like exactly, like that in like wrist strap on, like using like your
that's
left
a great
stick
move.
controls and your move controls in the like your aim controls on the right. Like that could be really good.
Yeah, like I need to get the lap desk when Metroid Prime 4 comes out.
Oh,
so I can sit at
Nintendo,
sit
make
on
some
the
lap
couch
desks, and
like,
we will buy those and be the biggest dorks. All right, Chris. Want to talk some games?
Let's do it.
All right, where should we start? What's your favorite game that you saw? Let's start with that.
Oh, Donkey Kong.
I thought that might be the case. So, Chris, as a resident Donkey Kong expert, I will say, I like Donkey Kong not as much as you. I was thrilled when I saw this. So I haven't really gotten your thoughts on this. Please tell me your reaction to Donkey Kong Bonanza.
This is like 95% exactly what I always like envisioned in my brain that they would do with like a 3D action platformer Donkey Kong game, and I'm so happy they did. Like it really looks like the next evolution of Odyssey a little bit.
Yeah,
or like if you
Odyssey
like
vibes.
Yeah, like just really I wouldn't be surprised if it was like the same engine. It just like has that same feel, just that same energy to it. I didn't see him swing on a single vine. That was like the big thing that I was.
That's the takeaway.
I can't grab onto something. He can like climb walls, like almost like Link in Breath of the Wild. I thought that was cool. But being able to like deform all of the like every landscape, and
smash through the ground and rocks and things like that.
Super destructible environments.
He looks powerful, and I think that was extremely well conveyed in that trailer. Is this what you wanted to see from the next Donkey Kong game?
It's exactly what I wanted to see. It's the thing that's getting me to buy the console. Like because I was sitting there thinking about it and I was like, Mario Kart, of course Mario Kart's going to be great. But at any point in the Switch 2's life cycle, you could buy a Switch 2 and buy Mario Kart and people will be playing it. Yeah. Like it's not like that fad is going to die off.
You're not going to miss it.
You had to be there. Yeah, exactly. People are always going to be down to play Mario Kart. That Donkey Kong game, like I've been waiting for this for like 20 years, and I'm so ready for it. I'm bummed it's not on launch day, but I get it because like Mario Kart needs to have its moment, and people need to be able to get the console. But it's not that far of a wait either, so like it's probably a good thing that I can like get familiar with it. But it just looked it was a very different style than I expected, though. I will say that. like just very almost like neon.
Yeah,
Like,
very vibrant.
you know when you print out
a lot of
yeah,
purples and like kind of acid wash colors in a lot of
cyan
places.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah,
It was like when you print out a printer sheet.
yeah, exactly. I can just picture Miyamoto's back in the office and he has to like align the like jets on the printer, and then he pulls the sheet out and looks at it for a second. He's like,
my God.
right, and that's what led into this. Like watching this and like this is meant to be like a takeaway from other stuff, but like this looks AAA as hell. It looks expensive as heck, and like they really put like extremely skilled developers with time and budget into making this, because man, it looks awesome. Yeah, I like, as somebody who thinks frankly Donkey Kong 64 is terrible, dude, I'm so stoked for this one.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I cannot wait. I think like I think there's a very legit chance that like this might be the best game that comes out of everything that they showed today. Like I have that high hopes for it.
No, I do too. I showed my wife around lunchtime, and she was like, so how many of these things are we buying? And I was like, we're only getting one. She was like, okay, so we get to fight over who gets to play this game when it comes out.
Yeah, we'll see if that just one sticks. Let's talk about things that looked amazing though. Let's talk about Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, this one knocked my socks off a little bit too. Some things that stood out to me is like it definitely seems to be like Forza Horizon meets Mario Kart, which is like a dream scenario to me. The roster seems unimaginably huge with the most obscure. Like there was like what are the fish dry bones called? I don't even remember.
Oh, I don't even remember. You can play the bat. You can drive as the bat. I saw that in like one frame.
Yeah,
I was like, really?
Like Moo, like the cow. Like you get to see the cow grinding on like electrical lines and things like that. So like the roster is deep. It seems like under certain conditions your character even like transforms in like a different like outfit. That seems really cool. And I will say, as much as like in video games we talk about how like, you know, art style trumps like visual fidelity and all that stuff, I think this is a perfect example though of like better is better though. Like I'm sorry, the fact that it looks so freaking good absolutely adds to I think the appeal of it, because it looks spectacular. It looks amazing the way the cars move with like the suspension and weight distribution, and everything is clean and crisp and fast. And like they at one point they showed I watched a short clip of like somebody playing as Peach doing like an elimination race where it's like, you know, every time you go through like the gates, an X number of players get eliminated and things like that. And like the fact that like, yeah, you can roam the open world between races, you know, and they talked about the Grand Prix is fairly conventional, except you go to your next race spots. I don't even know what the other modes are going to be. Like, I can't wait. I think we're going to get a Treehouse Live like tomorrow or the next day where they really dive deep into it.
I think it's the 17th.
I can't wait because I think there's going to be so much going on. Chris, I am so excited for this game.
No, I am too. I mean, and I'm so glad that it's not just like conventional Mario Kart where, because I think they could have done the easy thing and just been like, okay, it's called Mario Kart World. You start with 16 tracks or whatever, 32 tracks. We're adding 8 every quarter or whatever. And we've added costumes, grinding, and wall jumping. And I think that would have been enough for a lot of people. Because like at the end of the day, like people just want new tracks to be able to play. Like, but the fact that they've added this Forza Horizon element is super cool. What I'm kind of worried about, and I think it's just because we don't know yet, and I think we will, is like, okay, I can drive around this open world, but is there anything to do? And I'm sure there is.
I had the exact same
because
thought.
it's like, yeah, like if it's just this open thing and it's like, cool, now I have to drive to the other track. It's like, all right, nothing's really happening, or this game just never ends. Like that's not fun. But like they're smart enough to know that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that we're collecting.
But like,
something
what if it does that Odyssey thing where like going off the beaten path finds like what the things that you need to get new like cosmetics and outfits or like car parts or characters or
that's
things
what I'm
like
hoping
that.
it is.
Like, that sounds great. I love the idea of that. I'm super sold on this one. What did you think of Metroid Prime 4, a game which famously, we both were unanimous that of course there's going to be a Switch 2 version. What kind of crazy person wouldn't think there would be a Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4? Am I right, Chris?
But wait, did you see what he said in the Discord?
No, what did he say?
He said he was like he technically wasn't wrong.
Oh my god.
It's not a Switch 2 game.
Hush.
And we were like,
Hush.
okay, because of how they're doing the upgrade system. And it's like,
Hush.
sure.
Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
This is another one where I was like, we weren't sure that we were going to get like a Switch 2 edition of this. Man, and honestly, I thought the regular Switch version looked really, really good. I'm absolutely getting the Switch 2 version of it though, with like the high resolution HDR in this, 4K 60 when it's docked.
The last time you and I spoke, I think it was the last time you and I spoke, you said something that stuck with me, and I keep thinking about it. And it was that, well, if Metroid Prime 4 comes out on Switch 1 before the Switch 2 launches, I'll just wait to play it on the Switch 2. And when you said it in my head, I was like, I don't know if I can wait that long. Like, because we didn't know when this thing was coming out. And now we don't even know when Metroid Prime 4 is coming out, which is not the situation I thought we were going to be in. And now that I've seen it on Switch 2, it's like, oh, well, I just won't be playing it on Switch 1. So that makes that decision even better and like way easier. I have to, like, quality mode runs at 60 frames per second in 4K resolution. In TV mode, 1080p while in handheld mode. Performance mode runs at 120 frames per second in 1080p resolution in TV mode and 720p in handheld mode. So I don't believe them. Like, I just don't, because that game looks too good. I want to be. I've never wanted to be proven wrong more about a video game, like maybe ever in my whole life.
Yeah,
I don't.
No chance those frame rates are locked. No chance.
No, like, because it says that on here, and I'm like, okay, is this like the way that Echoes of Wisdom was trying to run at 30 frames a second?
It aspires
because
to 30.
Like, right, like, okay, I get it. Like, it's, but there's no way.
When you're stationary in the desert, yeah, it runs at 60, or it runs at 30.
And you don't move the camera.
Right, as soon as an object shows up, that takes a dive. Yeah, I'm with you. That being said, the Metroid Prime remake ran spectacularly well, and so even though again I'm certain that these aren't going to be locked frame rates, like I'll bet the amount of dips and like the degree to which it dips is probably going to be fairly well managed, and I think that this is going to be a really good experience.
I think that I'm of two minds of this. Part of me is like, okay, Metroid Prime 1 remaster ran exceptionally well on Switch 1. It's a game from, 2002? With obviously higher-end graphics and resolution. If they build 4 on the bones of that, then I could see this being real. And I think if it does, then that's how they did it. And it's to your point earlier, tremendous art direction coupled with just better hardware. But I would not be surprised if the Digital Foundry video drops on this and they're like, yeah, it's more of like a 45 frames a second at 4K. It doesn't feel great. Just play it at 1080p. And I'd be fine with that. Like I can live with 1080p as long as it's locked 60.
1080-60 is a dream. I love 1080-60. I'll play that all day long. Like honestly, like to me, like 1080-60 is like my floor for like I'm just having a great time.
Right.
So as long as I get that, I'm good.
But I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong. But it looks incredible.
Yeah.
For what we've seen, I'm all in.
Yeah. Like some other folks, I'm not completely sold that I want Samus to be all in on like telekinetic powers. Like I sort of like her being a like very, very like tech heavy
grounded character.
Well, it's like I like that historically so much of her stuff has been like she has very advanced technology, like her Chozo like suit and all that stuff that she has that she operates with, and like that and just some good old fashioned boxy is how she gets by. And so rather than just like powers, but they've also like they've been between like fusion and things like that, they've been messing around with like how she operates for a long time. So I'll go in with an open mind, and like it's gonna be awesome anyway.
Yeah. If
Speaking
it
of,
feels good to play, that's all that matters.
yeah. Speaking of things that are going to be awesome, though, one surprise that really excited me: Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment.
Right?
Now, everybody knows I'm a big Zelda fan. I'm a big Zelda nerd. Um, I, I think both Hyrule Warriors games are excellent. Like, I think they're fantastic games. And I had no idea we were getting another one this soon. And sending it in like during the imprisoning war, which is back like in the past when like Zelda goes into the past in Tears of the Kingdom. Spoilers. Is a really cool time to do it, and it also means that like elite and I don't know how it will work out in the actual game, the final story, but at least as it's presented, it is very centered around Zelda, which, again, like Radford Echoes of Wisdom, like they're really letting Zelda be the star of the series that carries her name. And that looks great and seems great. And I love when they do these because we get so much like of their own like built-in local story, and they're so much fun to play. And again, this army's full of like bokoblins running at great frame rates with great resolutions. This isn't meant to arrive until winter, and it's going to be so hard to wait until then.
No,
I'm really excited
disagree.
about this
Because I think what I agree with you. I'm very excited about it. I disagree with you in that I think this console's going to come out. We're going to be playing Mario Kart. We're going to be playing Donkey Kong. And I think that's going to carry us through like September.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be like, you know what? How do Switch 1 games play?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to get sucked into like some random title from our backlogs. And at that point, this game will be out.
Yeah. And like, I think it makes perfect sense strategically. But like, Chris, you know me well enough to know that if this entire catalog were available on day one, this is what I would be playing.
That's the game you're playing.
This is the one I would pick up, though.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, like, that or, replay Tears and Breath of the Wild, which I'm definitely going to do.
I was going to say, are you planning on doing that, like, first and foremost?
Well, yeah, I intentionally didn't 100% Tears of the Kingdom because I just always, like, felt like this was a real possibility. And we'll kind of talk about this at the end, but, like, this definitely has, like, a little bit of wish fulfillment in how this is coming together. And so like what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'm going to end up like starting a Breath of the Wild playthrough and just play part of the way through it and enjoy it and have a great time, and see it not completely dump its frame rate once I get to the Lost Woods, and then I'll probably play through the entirety of Tears of the Kingdom again, and then like that will be where I go through and try and 100% it. So I think that's my game plan, but we'll see.
Okay.
FromSoft made an appearance for a game that is legally distinct from Bloodborne called The Dusk Bloods, which it's clearly centered around blood. It's got blood in the title. It has a very I'm pretty sure I saw Big Ben at one point, and so like definitely very like old England look to it, but maybe not as old as like Victorian. Seems to be like a PvPvE thing, but like this seems to be like a Miyazaki directed Switch 2 exclusive From Software game, which like what a great get for a Nintendo.
What are the no one would have called this ever. I'm sure like Sony's, somebody in a Sony office today was like, no, right. Like, why is this happening? No, I mean, good on them.
Yeah.
It was good enough. Everybody knows I'm not a FromSoft guy. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just not my deal. But like, I thought Elden Ring was like a lock, and that happened, and everyone was like, okay, great. I was like, this is amazing. All right. Having an entirely new game that is only going to be on this console for, let's be real, a limited amount of time. I bet you 18 months from now it'll be everywhere else, or 18 months from its release rather. Mm-hmm. But no, it's huge for them. I'm very happy for it, and I think it
at some point.
Yeah. But I think it says that was the title for me where I think it says to everybody like, we're taking this seriously. Like, mm-hmm. This is not meant to be your Nintendo console and your indie console. Like the Switch 1 for me, and I think a lot of people was, the Vita's dead, so you need something to play indies on a handheld and first party Nintendo games. And now they're like, no, we're competing with the big dogs now, and you're gonna want to play here because you can play it anywhere.
Yeah, and honestly, like this was like a part of a big theme that we saw. Like, there's a ton of third party support that we're seeing, and
Yeah.
I can't help but imagine that like so many of the third parties haven't been able to do as much on the Nintendo console as they want to do, just because of the power of the hardware and the fact that like it's so much like you have to build specifically for it. Like, it's just not with like what the other consoles do. Like, you can't just like really easily port it. As soon as the Nintendo shows up with something that is like comparable from a hardware standpoint, it seems like they came running and could not wait to get their stuff on there. And like, we saw a ton of stuff. We saw Deltarune, including its newest chapters. We saw Split Fiction, Borderlands, Hades, Hogwarts Legacy, Yakuza 0, Cyberpunk, which was a really cool surprise, which you mentioned earlier, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 7 remake. EA is coming through with their sports titles. Hollow Knight, Wild Hearts, which is a really, really cool Monster Hunter like. That is totally
They're
worth
putting
playing.
that on Switch too?
Yeah, Wild Hearts S.
Oh wow. They like killed that game. That was just on Humble Bundle for like dirt cheap.
But honestly,
Interesting.
it's rad as heck. It is so good.
No, people loved that game. Yeah.
Star Wars Outlaws, Fortnite, Street Fighter 6, like Capcom is coming through. Hitman World
With
of
Amiibo.
Yeah, I know. Which, by the way, okay, Amiibo officially not dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Did
so,
you see the Zelda Amiibo they announced today?
the Zonai robot one, right?
And the 4 champions or whatever.
Oh,
Like,
that's
the 4
right. I
main-
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool as heck. Hitman World of Assassination, which if you haven't played, is just maybe one of the best stealth games ever. It's some sort of unannounced 007 project. Elden Ring is coming through. Speaking of From Software, there's a ton coming to it,
Yeah.
and like I think this is like the floodgates are just opening, and I really think these third parties have been so hungry to have a Nintendo hardware that could run modern stuff, and I think that they're gonna go bonkers on this.
Well, and I think the industry's at a point now where like the more places that you can just sell your game, the better.
Yeah.
Because like all these studios have to be able to survive. So like this is opening just a whole new market for them. If anybody is like just selling or just buying a Switch as their primary console.
Yeah, and honestly, like, even if the final spec is less than, like, let's say the PS5 Pro, right, or like a high-end PC or something like that, I think there's gonna be plenty of folks who will even like double dip to get the portability.
100%.
Like when I saw things like NBA 2K25 and things like that, I'm like, man, I cannot wait until MLB The Show eventually shows up on this, and I can like have my home console version. Because I've talked about how like I'll run the like super low resolution, like bad frame rate one where the characters look terrible, just to have like a portable one that I can just sit and chill and like get some baseball in while other people use the TV. So like it's like
that game's not on PC, right?
No, that's like the one thing it's not on.
Wow.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I'm very enthused by this, and I can't wait to see what like people do in the future with that. A couple other things I want to make sure that we hit. We saw a couple of Kirby titles. One is Forgotten Worlds, plus some like new content coming, which is pretty exciting. Forgotten Worlds was extremely good. Like it was really fun, very cool. It wasn't quite a Kirby of the Wild, but like the bigger, more open world was really cool, and the ability to travel around. But also, we found out what Masahiro Sakurai has been working on all this time, and it is the last thing I ever would have guessed.
Yeah, I can't believe they actually let him do it. I guess this was like, hey, you made Smash for us for this many years. Go make whatever you want.
Exactly.
And he's
Kirby
like, Air Riders.
Kirby Air Riders it is. Incredible. Let me ask you this, though. When Kirby showed up,
did you think it was Smash?
I did. I thought it might be Smash. At the very least, there's a part of me that went like, this couldn't be Smash, could it?
Well, and when he starts riding
the star,
I was like, there's no way it's Kirby Air Ride, because they wouldn't like they didn't show off that many first party games that we didn't already know about. I was like, there's no way they're showing off 2 racing games and the one of them's Mario Kart and the other one isn't F-Zero.
Right. And like
surely
surely if they do a second one, it's not going to be a sequel to a game from 20
years ago.
plus years ago. But
Yeah.
you bet your butt it is. It is Kirby Air Riders. And it seems like it's gonna have like a strong multiplayer focus. We don't know a ton about it. I'm sure we're gonna be getting some details on it soon, but like, yeah, sometimes we talk about how like the Kirby can be like the end of system thing is like, all right, like we're gonna drop our last couple of Kirbys as this console goes off to die, and no, they're coming out the gates with these, and it seems like they're really like putting in the work and gonna have some really cool stuff to do. I didn't play the original Air Riders, so I don't even know what to expect out of this one.
I'm not a fan. I've tried it.
Interesting. It's no Diddy Kong Racing, that's for sure.
It's not. Mario Kart World definitely looks like it might be. No, it's not my cup of tea. I don't think I understand it. And I've tried to play it a couple times. I did not play it as a child, and I think that might be part of it. But everybody always talks about, like, you got to play the city mode or whatever it's called. There's, like, some mode, and I did it, and I was like, guys, I just don't. It's not for me. We'll see. I'm sure I'll get it because it's first party Nintendo. But yeah, I was never blown away by that game. But more power to you if you're excited for it.
You know, it did blow me away though, Chris.
What's that?
Nintendo GameCube library coming to Nintendo Switch Online. Only a few titles like right off the bat, but man, is it a good list. Sunshine, Fire Emblem, Path of freaking Radiance, let's go! Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, Super Mario Strikers, Chibi Robo, hell yes, and we got him, Luigi's Mansion. Chris, I am so excited about this.
So, I thought it was so funny. Okay, the price hasn't changed, I don't think, much today. No, it hasn't. So, Fire Emblem Path, anybody who collects for GameCube knows this, but Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
I can't wait to see what happens with the resale price.
Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, Chibi Robo, and Pokemon Coliseum are 4 of the most expensive GameCube games. Like, they're in the top 10. The fact that they're like right out the gate, just like, yeah, we're including this in this service as some of the first titles that you're getting, huge win for the retro gaming market. At least I hope. But also just for accessibility, because these games are like impossible to get a hold of at this point, unless you want to pay like between $100 and $500 for copies of some of these. The Wind Waker one was kind of a monkey paw a little bit for me.
Yeah, I didn't even
kind of like a double-edged sword.
I would say the website I have open didn't mention Wind Waker, but they definitely showed off Wind Waker, and I agree
they did
with everything that you're about to say.
Yeah, we don't have the Swift sale. It doesn't run in widescreen, but you do get the original like art assets, which like that. When that game came out, everyone was like, "It looks bad," and we were like, "No, it's timeless. Shut up!" And it is. It's timeless. Yeah, it still looks great to this day. So, these games are running at a higher resolution allegedly. That's super exciting.
F-Zero GX. They mentioned too. All right, this list is so incomplete that I'm looking at.
F-Zero GX,
Soul Calibur 2 with Link.
Yep, with Link. So as far as like solid, I don't want to say deep cuts on the GameCube library, but like some of these are games that like did not sell particularly well, and it's why they are so like prohibitively expensive today. It's a great introduction into like what made the GameCube great. If you haven't played a lot of these, definitely check them out when they do hit Switch Online.
Man, and if we start getting if we start getting some third parties like Twin Snakes, Eternal Darkness,
oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, man, like just like we've seen with Nintendo Music, right? Usually they like have a very intentional strategy of rolling stuff out.
If you see Cube of Ore on here, just like know that I'm losing my mind.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and like F-Zero GX with online multiplayer. I know some chairman somewhere who's very, I promise you, very excited about that.
Oh yeah.
We're coming up to the end of the show. So, big picture, broad thoughts. How did you feel about the Direct, Chris?
I think they knocked it out of the park. Like I really think the big omission for me obviously was a 3D Mario. But I think the fact that a 3D Donkey Kong is coming is like, okay, that's fine. I'll take it. Do take as much time as you want, or let Donkey or Mario sit on the shelf for a while. That's fine. That was probably my biggest surprise as far as things that I didn't see. I was more shocked at what I did see and what they did confirm. And no, I mean, I'm excited for what's to come. It's crazy to think that, and we've been saying it like leading up to this, but like it's crazy to think that like this will be my son's first Nintendo console like throughout his life. Like this is going to be the one that he grows up with first, which is really cool. And it seems like it's off to a great start.
Yeah, for me, like I posed the question like, is this the best Nintendo Direct ever? And like, there's some other candidates like the original Switch reveal, is like way up there. But like to me, like the number of times I was watching this, and I was blown away by what I was seeing is probably unique in all the Nintendo Directs I watched. I was honestly stunned by how great the hardware like is running stuff and how good it looks. And obviously we haven't seen it in person, but like, what they've told us, like from a spec standpoint, things like that, super impressive. The compatibility between generations, getting a new Pro controller that has things like those paddle buttons, and so much of this like was wish list stuff. Boy, I wish they would do this, and they did like everything that was on my wish list. Yes, you are getting enhanced versions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, you are getting an enhanced version of Metroid Prime 4. Oh yes, we finally are doing GameCube on NSO, and yes, it has the games that you want on it. Like, banger after
is there
banger.
Anything that they didn't do that you're like,
and that's just it. It's like, the
like
thing,
I'm hard pressed to,
the things that they didn't do are things that I know were going to happen. Like, okay, they didn't show the next 3D Mario. That's fine. I promise there's going to be a 3D Mario, so I'm okay with that. They didn't show the next mainline Zelda. Okay, hey, spoilers, they're going to make another mainline Zelda. It's going to happen. And so like even that doesn't bother me in the slightest. Donkey Kong Bonanza was a like amazing surprise, and so like I like throughout just over and over again they just kept showing stuff where I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe they're actually doing it. Oh my god, I can't believe they're actually doing that or that or that or that. Astonishing show. Just absolutely blew me away. I'm so excited for it. And even the little quibbles that we mentioned, things like the price point, like honestly, like I was afraid it like we might be looking like 500, 550 or more. Like have you seen how much a PS5 Pro costs? Like it could have been honestly so much worse. And like again, the amount of compatibility with the accessories and all that stuff. Like, man, what a
the accessory thing is huge. I think, and I think it's something that like people that have been in the Switch ecosystem for a while, like I feel like they're taking it for granted. Maybe not taking it for granted, but like I think they need to consider it when they're like, God, like this is such a huge buy-in. It's like, yeah, but if you already have a lot of the stuff that works with this thing, like maybe it's not as bad as you think it is. Like when the Switch 1 came out, it was like, yeah, you had to buy a Switch. You probably got a Pro controller. You didn't know what you were doing, so you got extra Joy-Con. Like all these things add up, and now to be like, okay, day one, I can get this thing with Mario Kart, and like you're pretty much set for a good
drawer full of accessories is still valid. You can keep using that.
Right. You can bust it out when you happen to have one extra person there.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're trying to find
the loaner controller that you keep socked away for when there's too many kids over. Yeah, that still works. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, well, and just the fact that I can play a multiplayer game now. Assuming I buy this Pro controller, now I've got two. And so like that's and a brand new set of Joy-Con. Obviously, there's are still some tech questions. Like the big one that came up is whether or not the joysticks are like based on like the Hall effect, which as we discussed on a previous show, effectively using things like magnets to detect movement rather than like physical things that can wear out and lead to drift. They are
different.
Yeah,
they do mention that in the Ask the Developer that they like have a special like internal name for it, but like they're not using the term Hall effect.
Yeah. We didn't really mention the Nintendo Switch Welcome Tour, which is like kind of a sort of interactive like walk around a Switch and get in-depth details about all the pieces. That seems cool, except it's weird that you have to pay for it. But
I don't know who's buying that.
Like me, because I'm a sucker.
No, but like if they're like it's $50, you're not gonna buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they never said what the price of that was.
I will definitely try and resist the urge if it is that expensive, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I can get somebody else to buy it, and then they can like digitally lend it to me for 2 weeks.
There you go.
So there we go. So that's going to do it for a special bonus episode of the Toadstool Boardroom. I'm not going to plug anything because I'm not going to promise we're going to post anything anywhere or check anybody's emails. But, Chris, if somebody did want to catch up with you and see what's going on with your kitchen remodels or other things in your life, where can they find you?
You can find me on the internet at Shrives93. I primarily post on Instagram at this point. I don't really go on Blue Sky much anymore, and I'm not really on X anymore. I had somebody reach out to me on X, and I happened to catch it. And it was a timely message. Yeah, don't expect me to respond there like in a timely manner if you're trying to get a hold of me. Use Instagram. Otherwise, Discord. Yeah, we have the Discord link in the bio. We still chat in there whenever there's like stuff happening.
Yeah, all of us, the community and Jared people, we're pretty active in there. We talk a lot. And I will say, oftentimes we dissect a different Nintendo podcast on a weekly basis, which is a lot of fun. And so I enjoy doing that. As for me, you can find me online, mostly on Blue Sky, but I'll occasionally still post to Twitter. Just look for my last name, Koreis. I did have some reviews go up on IGN.com recently for Fragpunk, which was a pretty cool, fun shooter, and for MLB The Show, which is just a knockout of a baseball game. What a great game that is. I'm still kind of obsessively getting a couple games in every night for that. And of course, if you want to keep up on our chairman emeritus, Logan Plant, you can go search for Logan J. Plant, and of course watch the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast over at IGN.com to see what he's up to. And in particular, if you want to ask him about his Metroid Prime 4 Nintendo Switch 2 takes, I'm sure that's not getting old at all at this point. So feel free to check with him on that. But that's going to do it for another episode of the Toadstool Boardroom. We have to go back to finding out if Logan is still playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on his Nintendo 3DS. So until next time, if there is a next time, Boardroom Forever.
Boardroom Forever.